Now you can also see the screen. Kindly confirm. Yes, is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
Yes,
it's
sir.
visible.
Okay. So we have covered, as I discussed, we have covered about the shaft, about the rivets. Then we have covered about the threaded fasteners.
Excuse me,
We
sir.
also, yeah,
Sir, we have covered to about the keys, not the joints.
yes. I was trying to correct that. So we have covered the keys. We have also covered about the joints, as in we have covered spigot and socket joint, quarter and sleeve joint. So some basics of joints were also covered earlier. So now what we are discussing next is the shaft couplings. Now what you will observe that whatever machine elements we had discussed till now, say for example we have discussed the fasteners. So in fasteners we have discussed about nuts and bolts, and we have seen there are variety of bolts, nuts and all. We have also covered the application of keys, which is very important for power transmission. Also, we have covered the shafts, how to draw the different shafts. For example, the solid shaft and the hollow shaft. Now, what we are discussing today, it is the continuation of the same, but now everything is coupled together. Means earlier we have understood understood how to draw the bolt, nut and bolt separately, how to draw the shaft separately, how to draw the key separately. Now what we are doing is we are coupling everything together. Now before I jump into what are different type of couplings, it is very important to understand from an engineering perspective what are these couplings and what is the application of these couplings. So I am presenting you in on the screen a photograph in which you can see a motor and a pump, and in between I have encircled a coupling. So this encircled part is known as the shaft coupling. Now, what is happening in according to this photograph here? So there are two things from which one is the power source, or and another is the destination of that power. So here motor it becomes the power source. Okay, so this is the power source here, and we want the rotational motion to be transmitted to this pump. So what does a pump do? Pump generally it takes fluids from one level to, and it increases their or it pushes them to a higher level, or increases the in other words it pushes the fluid from one level to another. So what we are doing here is from this power source we are transmitting power to this pump. Now motor it has a shaft say up to this length. Okay, the pump has a shaft up to this length. So there are two shafts. One is the input side, and here is the input shaft here, and here we are interested to know the output. Now shaft couplings are nothing but these are arrangements which are done to couple the two shafts. So what we are doing is we are coupling these two shafts together to transmit power. Now this coupling is it is also not only important from the power transmission perspective, but at times it becomes very important to have joint shafts instead of one shaft. The one main reason is for from the transportation perspective. Okay, it is very difficult to transport very long shafts. Next important reason it why it becomes is from the stability perspective. Stability as in very long shafts means there will be a lot of eccentricity in this. So the stability of the system it also reduces. So there will be lot of vibrations, lot of wear and tear and all. So generally with small shafts the eccentricity will be less. So we want this type of couplings. So all in all, what we have understood, the idea of shaft coupling is to couple two shafts for transmission of power. Generally, shaft length of 6 to 8 meter is the point where after which the couplings are used. So 6 to 8 meters of length. So we don't go beyond this length, because a very long shaft, if it is a very long shaft, you can understand while it is rotating, so there will be eccentricity which will cause a lot of vibration and wear. So generally shaft will have less eccentric motion, so the stability will be more. So the idea here is to understand how to draw these shaft couplings. Now the application is becoming clearer, that the objective is to join two shafts for power transmission objective. So shaft couplings, these are used to join two shafts end to end. So the reason of joining is essentially to increase the length of the shaft. It may be a case the power transmission, okay, the power transmission may be the source may be quite at quite a distance compared to the where it is needed. So these are very popular, especially if you look in the um, I'm just drawing a rough sketch here. So especially in the boats, it is not boats exactly, the ships. So in the ships, what happens? This I'm drawing just a very rough schematic here. So the engine in the ship is the marine engine. It is quite in the middle for balancing this ship. So it is in the middle of the ship, but the propellers are in the end. Okay. So these propellers, they are connected using this engine. So this engine will, this is basically a diesel. These are marine engines, are essentially diesel powered engines, and the propeller here is connected to this engine using several these couplings. So this type of arrangement where you have this long distance between the source. So here this engine is the source, okay, and here is what the propeller is needing the rotational motion in order to propel the ship, okay. So where there is considerable distance between the source and where the rotational motion is required, so in that case also we need these type of couplings. And another reason is from the transportation perspective, the stability perspective. So in these situations, the shaft coupling, they become very important. So if you closely look in any power transmission arrangement, be it on it or transport in the transport environment, for example ship, or not in a transport environment but in an industrial environment, you will come across a lot of these type of couplings. So these couplings, there are several types of couplings which have their own advantages and limitations. For the sake of this course, we will be looking at some of the important ones, not all of them, but some of them. The idea here is to not tell you everything about couplings, but the idea here is to tell you how to draw these type of couplings, or how to understand the drawing of such couplings, and then to direct for manufacturing perspective or maintenance perspective, etc. So we move ahead to understand the classification of these couplings. So these couplings, they are classified in different manner depending on the requirement, depending on the configuration and so on. So I'll take a minute to erase this. Yeah. So the first classification that we come across is the rigid coupling. So rigid coupling, it is also known as the fast coupling. Okay. So why we call it as a rigid coupling? Rigid coupling, as in it provides only rigid axial alignment. So there is no scope, okay, for misalignment. I'll come to it in a minute. What I mean by misalignment. So no scope of misalignment means the shafts or the arrangements which are made to couple these shafts, they have to be perfectly aligned. If they are not perfectly aligned, so first of all, the coupling will not be joint, or the coupling will not be successful. And even if you try to make it joint, or you try to couple this misaligned shaft, there is a very high probability that the coupling may break and there may be a failure. So rigid couplings, they are only good when there is no scope of misalignment. And generally these type of couplings, they have all the structures which are put into this type of couplings, they are generally metallic, and since they are metallic, they do not have any scope to accommodate the misalignment. So they are also known as fast couplings because for very high speed where we don't want any type of misalignment, so these type of couplings are preferred. Next, we have a flexible coupling. So as the name itself is indicating, some amount of misalignment is accommodated or is possible without hampering the power transmission. Now, not only all metallic components are used, there are some non-metallic components which are also used in the flexible coupling. For example, the bushes are provided, they can be made up of leather or rubber, synthetic rubber. So those type of bushes, since they are a flexible material, so they give this flexibility to the or they give this capability to this coupling to accommodate the misalignments. Next, we have parallel couplings. So parallel couplings are basically used for shaft axes that have an offset. This means the input shaft is slightly offset than the output shaft. So if you have this type of arrangement where you have the two shafts which are slightly offset, not to a very large extent, but yeah, to a slight, or this offset is there. Okay. So in such cases, we go for parallel couplings. So one of the coupling in this category it is the Oldham coupling. So Oldham coupling is a type of the coupling which can couple shafts which have an offset. Then we have universal couplings. So universal couplings, they can accommodate shafts in which the axis it can intersect at any angle. So generally this angle is small, but essentially any angle means the shafts they can be at a slight angle. So in this case also, this universal couplings are there. Next we have detachable couplings where the power transmission it can be stopped. Okay. So detachable couplings are also popular with clutches. So I'm very sure each one of you might have come across this term clutch. So clutch is nothing but it is an arrangement which in most in the normal sense it is always engaged, but you need to either pull a lever or you need to press a pedal in order to disengage the clutch. So power transmission it immediately stops as soon as you disengage the clutch. So if you drive any vehicle, say a two wheeler, geared two wheeler or a four wheeler, so you can very well understand the role of clutch for engaging and disengaging. In such scenarios, power transmission can be stopped or it can be switched on depending on the need. Another way of looking at the detachable couplings is with respect to axles. So we discussed in the previous module what is an axle and how does it differ from a shaft. So just I'm revisiting that concept that we understood in the previous module. The axle it is also it looks like a shaft, but it does not transmit torque, it only transmits motion. So power transmission is not there on the axle, it is just the motion or the rotational motion is getting transmitted. So the shaft it always transmits the torque. So generally what we look at the all the railway coaches or the bogies or the wagons, they have the axles present inside. So all the wheels that you see they are connected to the axles, not the shaft, because power transmission is not there, so they are just rotating. Also the axle of the bicycle is there, and in certain trucks you might see which carry very heavy load, often there is a third wheel. Generally they have two wheels which are powered for using a differential, but they also have a third, I'll just draw it for more clarity. So they generally have the third wheel also, which you might have seen in certain cases that this wheel is slightly lifted above the ground. So it is in not in contact with the ground, but the all other set of wheels, six wheels are on the ground. So this wheel is engaged with the ground only when the truck is carrying very heavy load. So this is very popular in hilly terrains, especially if you see it in the hilly states. So you will see in certain trucks we have this detachable axle which can be engaged whenever more load is being there on the truck. Then is slip type of couplings where the shaft and the driver. So this they can engage and disengage depending on the need, and they can the speed can be varied between the driven and the driven shaft. So in our scope, what I'm not going to cover all the couplings, as the scope of this course is not to teach you about couplings but to teach you how to draw these couplings and read the drawings. We'll be restricting more or less to the top four types of the couplings. No, until this one, until the universal coupling. The other ones we are not going to cover right now. These details you can have it if you have more interest, but for the scope of this course and this module of shaft couplings, we'll be restricting on our discussion on rigid, flexible, parallel, and universal couplings. So with this basic introduction, now I am very sure each one of you has an idea what a coupling is, what is the purpose of a coupling. We can move ahead. We have also understood what are the classifications of this type of couplings. So we move ahead on discussing first what is a rigid shaft coupling and what are different types. So rigid shaft couplings, these are again further classified in two types. One are the muff couplings and then there are flange couplings. So muff couplings, they have a sleeve over them. So this sleeve basically covers the connects the two shaft via a key. And then there is flange coupling where the two flange the ends of the shaft, either they are flared or they are coupled to a flange which are bolted together. So these are two type of rigid couplings. We will see now more details about them in the subsequent slides. So first I'll discuss about the muff coupling. So muff coupling is a very simple type of coupling where we have a muff. So what you will see, this is the shaft 1, this is the shaft 2. So these two shafts, they are connected using this muff. Okay. Now this shaft, they have this keyway. Please see this, there is a keyway here, and in between we have inserted a key. Now this key can be either of square type or it can be of a rectangular type, depending. Mostly the muff couplings, they prefer a square type of key. All other dimensions of the muff coupling, they are in proportion of the diameter of the shaft. So this is the diameter, d is the diameter of the shaft. So you can understand the length of the muff here is three times the diameter, and the external diameter of the muff is twice the diameter of the shaft. And of course the diameter, or sorry, the proportions of the key are d by 4 into d by 4. So this indicates it is a square key. Now how power transmission is taking place? So power transmission, suppose we assume here shaft 1 is the input shaft. Okay. And shaft 2 is the output shaft. Now what is happening here, the inlet, this is the input shaft. So from here the power goes to this key. So this key is partially coupled to this muff, or we call it as sleeve. Okay. So from this muff, the power enters here, the torque enters here from this key. So which this is the same key, or the key may also be in two parts. Generally, it is in one part. And from here, the power enters the shaft too. So whole of this arrangement, it rotates or transmits power together. The important thing what is here is to understand that the key is holding the two shafts and the muff together. So this is an example of an assembly drawing. What we are doing is we are assembling parts together. Now you make the shaft separately, you make the key separately, you make the muff separately. What you have to ultimately do, you have to assemble all of this in an assembly drawing to create a front view and the side view of the coupling. So now I hope you understand this word muff. So muff is nothing but is another name of the sleeve, so which has a hole similar to the diameter of the hole. The internal diameter of the muff will be equal to the diameter of the shaft. External diameter of the muff is twice the diameter of the shaft, and the length of the muff is three times the diameter of the shaft. So keyway, it has the usual proportions, and most important point here is the keyway is partially in the bore. Bore is basically the internal diameter. So in the internal diameter also, there will be the keyway, half keyway, and half will be on the shaft. Now if it is not half in the muff, half in the shaft, so what is going to happen? If in that case the key may come out and the muff may not rotate, so the coupling will fail. So the keyway has to be partially in the shaft, partially in the muff. So power transmission, as we have already discussed, it takes place from one shaft to another shaft via the key and the muff. Okay. So this is about the muff coupling. What is important here that you have to look into drawing the keyway, okay, as shown here. So with this hidden line, the keyway is there, and the key is also being shown in the front view and the side view. And here it is being shown as the muff is there, which is attached on top of it. So generally, what is going to happen? The keyway, the key length and this muff exactly they will coincide, and it will come exactly in the center, like you have to show this muff. So muff is uh, coupling the shaft and the through this key. Next type of the rigid coupling is the split muff coupling, or we call it as split lap muff coupling. So in this earlier what we have seen, the muff it was in one piece. Now the muff has split. This is the split muff. So this split muff it is again held together via bolts. So here we are using these bolts. Okay. So you can see there are two pairs of bolt which are holding this muff together. So once you bring in the shaft, okay, again to take the power from the shaft to the muff, so keyway has to be there, and then the recess to the bolts have to be also provided. These bolts cannot just protrude out of the muff for safety purpose. If the bolts they protrude out, the bolts they if they protrude out, what is going to happen is they'll pose a risk to the people who are working near this coupling, because these protruded bolts they may attract loose clothing or hair, or anything can get entangled. And since shaft is rotating at a very high speed, so there is a very favorable scenario for a hazard. So generally what is observed, the recesses for this bolt or space for this bolt has to be created so that it is completely covered or it's not protruding beyond the muff. So we create this type of a recess, and these bolts are then provided, which are held together with these nuts. So if you look carefully at this end, so you will see that the threaded part is also shown, the bolt is also shown. So these are held there together. In some cases the bolt is also specified, say M8 or M10. So depending on the specification mentioned, the corresponding bolt has to be drawn. So generally these two recesses they can accommodate bolt heads of 0.9d. Again, capital D here indicates the diameter of the shaft, and muff, since it is made up of two into two parts, so there is half length. So the half length of the muff is basically taken into consideration. Sorry, the two halves of the length of the muff is 3.25d and diameter is 2.7. So slightly what you will observe, the muff is slightly of the bigger size compared to the solid muff, and the diameter is also enlarged. And another important consideration is the distance between the two bolts. It is 1.5d. Next, we discuss about the rigid flange coupling. So this will be the last coupling that I discussed today, because these are slightly complex couplings which I don't want to rush in. So next, now what you will observe here, now this is another type of flange coupling, rigid coupling, in which we have flanges. We don't have the muffs now, we have the flanges. Now these flanges, there are two ways to make these flanges. One way is to develop these flanges on the shaft itself. Means the ends of the shaft can be forged, Okay, so they can be forged so that you create these type of flange, and then you create holes in this flange, and you pass the bolt, you lock the two flanges together using these M20 bolts. M20 means it is a metric thread with 20 nominal diameter. Here I am not showing the proportions, rather I am directly showing the solution to a particular problem. So for example, the shaft diameter which we are interested to connect is 60, and the thickness of the flange is 30 millimeters. Okay, and correspondingly for this diameter of the shaft, I'll provide a table later on, where in the table, looking at the diameter of the shaft, this number of bolts on in this flange can also be varied. So this can vary in pairs like 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. And of course, since they have to be fixed at a particular diameter, so that is denoted by PCD, that is pitch center diameter. PCD is pitch center diameter, is 130 millimeters, and the external diameter of the flange is 190 millimeters. All the dimensions are in millimeters. So you can understand from this drawing, this will be the side view of the coupling, that is a marine coupling, and this is the front side view and the front view. So what is important here, that since flanges they are integrated with the shaft itself, so we don't need a key. So since the flange they are forged with the shaft, okay, so no key is required. So just directly you are you can understand, you can consider here my hands as the flange, which are integral part of the shaft. I'm just coupling the two hands or the two flanges, and then I'm bolting it together in order to make the power transmission possible. If in case I don't have an inbuilt or a forged flange with the shaft, so I will be first keying the flange to the shaft, then I'll be using the bolt. So that is the next variety of the coupling, which of course I will not be taking up in this lecture. So this is where I want to stop now. I won't be discussing any further. The next assignments are based on these topics, that is the joints that were we have discussed, that is essentially the keyed joints, for example the gib quarter joint, knuckle joint, and all. And the sixth assignment, which is also uploaded in the Moodle, will be considering on the shaft couplings. So these two topics basically will complete our drawing part. Of course, there could be more, but given the circumstances of online classes and lab, so I am not extending the drawing part to a very large extent. Beyond this, what is left is the production drawings, which will be covered in a more theoretical manner rather than the drawing manner. But I will try to give you an idea how to draw the production drawings and how to read those drawings. With this, I want to stop for today's lecture now, and I can now take up questions from you if there are any. If you have any questions, please feel free to discuss. Yes. Are there any questions, please? If there are no questions, we can close the class for today, and we will continue on the couplings in the subsequent class. So I expect to complete these couplings by end of this month, so that the drawing part for the course will complete. One module will be left for theory, that will continue in November. So if no more questions, we'll close the class for now, and we'll see you in the next week. Thank you.